Everybody, Graham McBain here. We've got Catherine Coley from Binance USA. Thanks for joining us, Catherine.
Super excited to be here.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about sort of meme marketing, right? Because like that's insanely fun, and you're quite good at it. What was your favorite experiment from the Having a Good Time contest you put out?
I gotta say, I had a lot of drafts that never got published that were cracking me up and keeping me alive during the lockdown. Eh, you know, bringing into we're halfway there, I think was really clever. I'm having the time of my life. I actually know that song so well; it's going to be my karaoke song going forward. So
Nice.
there were enough takes of that I can do both parts and sing it pretty well. So to me, I wish there were a ton more because there's a lot going on. But save those for the next 4 years. So you've got time to think.
It's good. Yeah, compound it, bring back old ones, do that kind of. I love it. I was looking at your career, and it's interesting. You're on like the full spectrum of normal finance to crypto finance. Like you have a stop at every journey along that path. Do you think that your journey is sort of indicative of where the larger finance markets are going?
I think you could probably say that and stop. I'm on the full spectrum of all things in life. I really think that it's super important to have, tours of duty, as I call them, in other people's shoes, so that you really, when you're building your next, arena or where you're focused on, you are bringing the best of that into what is needed for a solution into the future. So that's really where I am right now with connecting the dots that frustrated me about traditional finance. Bringing the best of that, bringing the accuracy, the attention to detail, the ability to really have quite liquid and healthy markets, brought into a new sphere where women don't have to wear pantyhose in order to go to the office. Everybody can partake in the hours of their choice. People around the world can all partake in this. So there are definitely parts that I'm growing, and this is just the beginning. I'm excited for where we can evolve from here.
Yeah. Well, and your unique perspective is really cool because you've been sort of all over the world, which is rad. It's sort of all the places I want to live. My family and I want to move to Copenhagen with our kids because we just
so cool. Yeah, I mean, if to be a little Danish kid, it must be awesome. You've got the bicycle culture there is so fantastic. The scenery is, it's everything about the comfort of Scandinavia. The Tivoli, which is like Disney, or Disney inspired, is there. So there's such an imaginative spirit inside of Copenhagen as well. It really was a fascinating time. So if I could be a kid again and I couldn't grow up in Orlando, I probably would pick Copenhagen.
That's a super good choice. I read the little book of Higa, which
yes.
Is
you said it much better. You saw me like walking around that word. I was like, how do I say this?
And actually, I was at IKEA yesterday, and they now have a doormat that says Higa on it, and I was like, nice. Oh, I need to have that. That is absolutely part of it. So from your perspective, you've been all over the world. Like, what do you think some of the future of the financial markets is? What are sort of those like things rattling around in your mind that you think are just inevitable?
Yeah, one of the reasons I did want to have those experiences all over the side of the world is because I think we can pull from the best of all sides of Earth, whether it's our communication, our cultures, our speed, work ethic. There's something to be said about cultures evolving on their own that can bring together more of their features. So in terms of the financial markets, the US has had, the most robust capital markets, and heavy regulation, but rightly so. You're stepping into the big waters there. So I think that's something that we can bring with us, understanding where these more fragmented markets have had bigger amounts of illiquid events and therefore have more consequences. I think about the Asian financial crisis and what they've had to do to protect against speculation, to kind of belly up a lot of their economies. And so when we're building inside of this kind of new digital asset space, we can take from those the different restrictions to allow, and then also know when we are at certain points that we're ready to grow up and kind of break into the next sphere. We saw, when I was first getting into crypto, which really was late, call it like 2017 is when I was, spending full time on it. It's WhatsApp, And in my head, I'm going, these are not sustainable ways of communicating and executing trades. Like, you need execution speed, you need, transparency of records. You're going to need reporting, you're going to need middleware to have, corporates to be able to document and audit all of their actions. So there's steps that we can build inside of it while knowing what it looks like at the end, good or bad, and kind of be conscious and keeping our heads up to make sure that we're not building something without recognizing its consequences.
Yeah, I think building stuff without looking at what's already been built is a disease that's rampant in crypto. So
I'm not here to build Wall Street 2.0. I'll admit that. I will let someone else build it, but I'm here to build a better finance that reaches more people, more ways, works with us, works with our lifestyles, works with the evolution of how human race is headed, which, might not be for the best, but we're going to make it a good time.
Yeah. I think we can, it's almost like saying we don't want to build the Chaz of finance is probably a good common thing for right now. So, Binance and BinanceUS, Binance is a really interesting organization. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time asking questions because I'm curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think a lot of people get wrong about that relationship between Binance and BinanceUS, or what are some common misconceptions you see people have there?
Yeah, one take, we're independent entities, but we're able to license the technology. So a lot of people come and knock on my door when they've got customer support problems with .com, and it's like, I don't really have insight into your user information or help of your account. I really focus on the United States. I keep that sealed off on our own, and really cater to the American audience in that respect. The benefit, I think, is more of one of, holistic best practices. I can learn from a team that's grown vertically up in 2 years. Now they're headed into their third year, or coming up at their third anniversary. And it's incredible to see what they've done in that last year. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what have we done in BinanceUS in our first 9 months? We're not nowhere near tracking at the same trajectory as Binance.com was in 2017, but look at the market too. We can wish that we'd follow that same trajectory soon, but I think of that where the speed to which they operate and the cohesiveness to which the teams really are integrated and working together, despite the fact that they're decentralized, located on over 40 countries, working in a 24/7 environment. Like, those are things that I really do still carry through to our team, and be able to maintain quality standards of high security and privacy for our users, speed and agility in the execution, our matching engines being some of the most superior in the business, able to accommodate extremely volatile days, able to stay reliable in terms of letting people get action into these quite volatile markets, and then being able to deliver the user transparency that we have. I was so honored to kind of come in under the same styling of CZ, where he's always in front of his users. He's available to talk. This might be a shock, but when you meet him and talk to him in person, he sounds like he tweets. It's the same person. and so I'm like,
shorts, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, wow, there's not like a corporate persona of this person that I then meet from, behind the curtain. He is who he is up front. And I think that authenticity and the drive just to be the best platform for our users is what we really stand by.
That's very cool. Yeah. So, this event is really geared towards founders. We're focusing on people that want to build companies on public blockchains. I know, .com has all kinds of stuff. Are there sort of resources and tools and things that BinanceUS has for founders and wants to encourage entrepreneurship in this space that you think people should know about?
Gosh, if we don't have enough, we should work on that, because I think it's absolutely awesome. The opportunity to, lead a team and bring an idea into fruition has been a game changer in my own health and happiness. There's a great component on that. We have an open API that's available for people to dig into and build upon. We also, list about 35 cryptocurrencies right now. So building upon those protocols, having feature sets that might work within our exchange or marketplace allows people to really, become useful, knowing that that's really what we cater to. So we're absolutely looking for folks that are building things that are unique and helpful, and where we can integrate as well. I think about like working with Brave, one of our partners, their ability to provide, privacy forward browser works great with having a widget that lets you buy Bitcoin instantly. And so we think about those kind of overlaps where it makes sense in terms of making crypto work in your life easier, making it a more seamless experience. If everyone had to, when they wanted to involve themselves in crypto, A, say they went down the rabbit hole, B, brag about how many podcasts they listen to, like, that's exhausting. Just make it work for me. Make it easy for my life. Make it so I'm kind of foolproofing my future and making sure I'm not being left behind or leaving behind others.
Very cool. So, Binance, you said you get to borrow a lot from their culture, and they're famously, like you said, remote first, globally distributed. How do you think that the whole country, the whole world is moving to remote first? Do you guys, is BinanceUS sort of practicing part of that? How do you think that positions you guys to be successful in the space?
It was a huge relief. When I left Ripple to come to BinanceUS, I immediately put into policy a decentralized to do your best job policy. Whereas if you were working late at night, working with devs over on an Asian time zone, I did not expect to see you in the morning. I also might not expect you to see in the office. I really have, there might be call it a soft spot. I have an obsession with making sure that people are operating at their optimal levels mentally. And for me, my mental state is not commuting into work, being dressed by 6 a.m. and staying there to show that I'm being busy and delivering the best products. I have a, extroverted manner where I want to be involved on the ground, talking to people in person. There's a matter to which we need to be flexible. And I think that's really where we're headed. With Binance, it was, you're available, you're based on your results, and those two things alone make the business completely work in the situation we're in. I mean, when lockdown happened, we kind of chuckled to ourselves and was like, okay, guys, snack time's over. Because for us, our office was a great place to have a big bag of Costco snacks and a place where we could see each other's faces. But we had a great call yesterday where everyone was in wearing their BinanceUS hoodies. And other than the fact that the people that joined the company don't know how tall I am, there's not too much that they're missing out on. We're still pretty vibrant in terms of our lives, and it allows you to do other things that traditional work, construct alienated people from or forced them into a different life than they were wanting to live.
Yeah, I think we're in for a future. I've had this really stupid startup idea for a work pod. So we'll ship you a pod to your house, and it's like a fully enclosed pod that has like air conditioning and like a snack freezer and everything. Just go to your pod and then you're fine.
That would work except for the guys that pace when they're working.
Yeah.
they need the extended pod. So it's like, longer than it is wide, right?
Or a bidirectional treadmill, that also powers the stuff that they're doing. I'm glad you're in. I'll look for an angel check soon. So in the exchange space, there's a lot of ways that can go. People are taking that. You guys obviously have your widget, which I think is a really, really cool. And when I first saw that opening a new tab at Brave, I was like, duh, and great move, very, very cool stuff. What do you think there are opportunities in the exchange space? Do you think there's sort of like small things that people can be picking off, obviously that you guys aren't going towards, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think about it all the time. I'm trying to build something so that your next career can involve something so that it works for you. So it's always, there's not as much adoption in this, but it's confusing. I'm like, get as many ways to which income comes to your door without you having to lift a finger. And the business of the referral codes that we have, in my mind, I was like, if I was a college student, I'd be sending that to every single classmate. If I was someone on online dating, I'd be making sure every single person that even wanted to go to lunch with me did it. Like, you just want to be preparing yourself for the next wave of when people want to actually take control of their digital future. And to me, it was kind of a no-brainer that giving 20% of other people's trading fees back to its originator made a lot of sense. So I think there are some business models that we haven't seen yet that I'm excited to have build on top of it. With our widget, I'm excited for people that have, news sources or education platforms or even community gatherings to allow people to not leave that community in order to go, top up or check on the prices and buy into digital assets. There should be a way where these websites will soon be monetizing in a currency with a wallet that needs to be, either turned back into crypto or turned into fiat. So that to me is very natural. If I was building a business right now, I would make sure there was a use case for that, because it's, it's an additional revenue stream for you on top of providing that service for people.
I guess I didn't realize that the widget is sort of its own business line outside of the Brave partnership. So how do people sign up for that? Are there other people that are adopting that right now? What is that?
Yeah, there are. So we have it on our website. There's a blog about, I'll post soon again about it, because it's a great idea forward, but you can sign up. There's an SDK for the widget. You can customize it how you want. We had one group of token passionate folks saying, like, we don't want these coins on it, we just want ours. And I was like, yeah, we have that. You can make this widget say whatever you want, buy, on the buy button, which is great. So if you're forward, I think this was probably an XRP page, XRP Arcade, looking to launch the widget, and they wanted to customize it to say buy XRP. That's fine. It's available. It works for you. A big thing I stand by is freedom of choice. Like, it's all there. It's up to you how you want to be deploying it, up to you how you want to be catering the message, but you need to be able to have it flexibly. And that's really what we're building.
It's very cool. I can just see, like, churches across America having their Binance widget in there. I think that's a great concept.
Isn't that how the world started?
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of the Binance organization and how it sounds like there's this culture of create a project, present it, go with it. And you said you get to lean a lot on how they're doing that. How much of that have you brought into your organization, and are there any examples of that having brought new products to creation?
Yeah, we're really lucky. We are lucky and unlucky. We're about 8 years behind, and we're entering some of the most restricted markets there are, and that are highly saturated. However, we get a fantastic playbook of what Binance has done globally that's been successful, and we also have a roadmap of where things in the United States have been successful or failures along the way. So we're still in that phase of building to par, is kind of what I call it. I think when we launched, I was crying inside. We launched on the web only, 7 coins with fiat, and it was just like, I know this isn't what the people want. And in January we were able to launch our app. This last in June we were able to launch recurring buys. These different parts of the business are really crucial to having that full, robust suite that people really want to be able to interact with. So now we've got 3 ways to trade, 3 ways to get fiat into the platform, over 35 coins available. We're now reaching closer to that par level where we can begin to build creatively and expand on things that weren't in either of those playbooks. And that's really what gets me most excited. But, in 9 months, we've been able to get as close as possible to par. That's pretty good building. And the team I've got is extremely opinionated, and I picked them that way. They all came in from different arenas of finance and gaming and different backgrounds. And they get to come together now and say, this doesn't work for me in the current market, and I need this solution. And we go at it and build it. Simple things of the recurring buy. I wanted it to be dollar-based. I wanted it to be less than 12 seconds to set up, and just set it and forget it and have it work for me. That's just taking a different poll of our users, which is essentially our team. Our team represents, we've got Robinhood, Western Union, SoFi, EY Blockchain, trying to think, Bitflyer, Kraken, Shapeshift, Crypto.com. We've got people that have, as you said, kind of had some miles, had some different perspectives, and are totally dove into crypto. And so that's really what I think is quite a benefit to our team pushing forward, is we think about things from super diverse amounts of perspective. And we're scattered all across the United States. So there's not that kind of West Coast vibe or the East Coast vibe. We try and bring it all together as one. It's, at the end, just the United States.
Yeah, I like that joke that New York people are trying to bring crypto to Wall Street, and California people are trying to burn Wall Street to the ground.
It's kind of funny because I never fit in anywhere. I wasn't, people didn't expect me to show up on Wall Street. And when I showed up in Hong Kong, they're like, she's lost. When I showed up in Silicon Valley, they're like, what's an FX trader doing in our waters? And I think, that sentiment is not rare. That's most of America. And so I'm building something just for every day for the folks that want to come into the space and make sure that they're not left behind, want to invest their future, and not be burdened or left out of any of the situation. We've got this kind of motto: educate, don't intimidate. And maybe it's from like years of being bullied in middle school and stuff, but hey, I'm not the only one. Like, let's just move the world forward how we need to move it.
That's funny. Yeah, people joke about tech people. We're the people that get bullied, so they're trying to build this new stuff to be cool. So I think crypto is maybe just a more hyper.
Yeah, the people that got really bullied are crypto.
Yeah. They're the ones who said it but still had friends. I have no friends.
Yeah, no. It's I grew up with curly brown hair in Florida, and let's just say I looked very different than my blonde tan friends.
So minor switching gears here. You're started an organization called Women in Money, which I think is really cool. My wife's part of a thing called Women in Data, so I'm around these organizations a lot. How can our attendees, if they want to get involved in that, what's that organization about, and how can they check it out?
That's actually really funny. It's still on my LinkedIn, right? So when I moved over to Silicon Valley Bank, after trying to find myself in this new world, non-finance or non-Wall Street, there were so many components that people were talking about that I was not familiar with. And it felt like by not understanding those aspects, I was going to be left behind. People talking about warrants, people talking about equity, people talking about, what are you angel investing? Are you, and you're like, if I just ignore this, I'm not going to go anywhere. And so we used to call it like, Silicon Valley in the stairwell. It was two others from Silicon Valley Bank and I would meet up like Thursdays for 30 minutes and be like, did anyone get any paperwork that said like, you could do this with like a stock buyback, you could do this with it, like, let's learn those terms. And we ended up doing, it was about we'd bring 6 women together on a Friday night and talk about all of our finances. And we'd have a hella tight charcuterie board and a bottle of wine. So it was worth it. And we talk about like real nerdy stuff, and we'd have to we'd bring our computers, we'd pull up our budgets, we'd go through, your budgets. I was spending way too much money on Ubers, but I didn't buy any clothes. So like, did it even it out? And we're like, should we talk about this? Like, Catherine, do you need to be buying, what are the essentials? What are the non-essentials that you're buying? And we'd bring in crazy, awesome women that got into really cool jobs. I mean, I think there was one session where we had, and it was Stripe, EA Sports, Silicon Valley Bank. I was then at Ripple, a custody startup that she's now running Securitize's BD efforts, and then Facebook content. And we'd sit in the room and be like, oh, this room's kind of cool and powerful, but we got to get our act together. Like, we got to know what's happening in terms of investing in our future and being on top of this. And that kind of zero judgment, 100% learnings was just the right environment that we needed. So we tried to expand that model, but there was something about the intimacy of having it in a living room in San Francisco, which is extremely intimate. They're tiny. and keeping it small enough so that all of our voices were heard. We brought in Dr. Luann Brizentine she did the female brain, and she taught us all about the psychology behind female and men's brains and how that affects our investing. And we then had a session on crypto, and we had 35 women show up. And we were like, well, yes, we need to be catering to this audience. And then just given the dedication required to dive into crypto, I was going, God, guys, I can't make this Friday. Like literally the world is mooning, and how can I contribute and how can I help with this? So actually, we split up the Brat Pack, and one of those founders created a endeavor called Girl Funds. And the other one created something called The Shed, which is essentially kind of like the wing, but virtual. And so they both kind of built out these bigger ecosystems and communities around getting women familiar with each other and familiar with the fact that we got to learn how to invest, or else it's going to be left to the rest of us. And so I think that's something that was super valuable, and that connectivity, finding my tribe, finding people that, they tell us to fake it till you make it. You can't really do that with investing. You kind of got to learn to do what you're doing. You kind of can't be like, oh, have you bought a digital asset? Yeah, of course I have. Like, you got to do it. You got to budget. You got to, look over your 401k, know about your diversification of your portfolio. And that requires a lot of handholding. And so we, creating a community, my DMs are always open. If people are feeling like they're being left behind, if they do want to get connected to better or bigger communities where they can have these kind of shared voices, do reach out. We're absolutely available, and it's growing.
Cool. Yeah, Allison Barr from Fast. Yeah. So she's huge on that stuff, and so very cool. That's a really neat organization.
And we're like little cheering organizations around, planet everywhere. And when someone gets promoted, it's like, we told you so. You needed to ask for that raise. And so it's, you need that sometimes.
Yeah, everybody does. That's so it sounds like that's not an organization people could jump into now, but they can reach out to you. So that's great. So just finally, I really appreciate you being part of this. I always like a sort of silly question. What's your favorite meme Twitter account?
Oh God. Well, I did like a recent digest of what I had, and it's like people that would follow you only have science, news, and dogs. And I was like, oh, those are my people. So it's not a meme account as much as Rate My Dog or
oh yeah.
14 out of 10, good boy. I live for that. In terms of the other memes that just pop up and run around, I don't follow like a dedicated meme account too much. Okay. I like to come organically, but I can always rely on Niraj to pop up some clever witticisms.
Yeah, their good dogs, Brent, is like the best. It's like the best Twitter thing ever. This is awesome. Well, Catherine, I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing everything with our team, or the attendees here that are going to be at the event. So it's just really great. It's really cool to see what you're doing with BinanceUS. Getting to par in 9 months, as you say, is an insane. I've got a friend who's in the regulatory space, and the fact that you guys were able to pull that off is just ridiculous. So thank you. Really appreciate you being part of the event.
Thank you. I'm all here to support anyone that wants to be pioneering in a new space.